conjured souls that won't turn back.
Hi, I'm Sam, and basically I'm here because I want to be your friend. What's your name? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about you now. Like, where are you from? That's a nice part of the country. Any pets? I'm a cat person myself, yeah.
In 1986, a VHS tape called Rent-A-Friend was released for sale. It wasn't a film per se. The name describes exactly what the product was intended to be. A means for lonely customers to have access to a video companion via their home VCR. For 40 minutes, Sam, the would-be VHS friend, talks to the viewer, complimenting their taste in decorating, telling his backstory, showing off his high school yearbook, and leaving appropriate pauses for the viewer to respond to his questions. One thing Sam doesn't have any questions about is whether you, the viewer, are a person worth getting to know. You want to meet him, after all, so what more proof could there be of how swell you are? Sam is a bit of a dork. You find out he used to be overweight. He never had much luck with the ladies. When he was younger, he made weird yodeling sounds whenever he got excited about something. He has a history of dead-end jobs, though he is currently unemployed. In fact, a cynical person might suspect the character Sam was tailored to be as relatable as possible to the kind of person who would feel the need to seek out friendship through their VCR. I bring up Sam, the Rent-A-Friend, because in many ways he symbolizes so many of my misgivings about AI technology, not just for the general populace, but occultists in particular. As counterintuitive as it may seem, magic being an atavistic and archaic practice, most occultists are eager to integrate technology into their practice. Fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer may remember Giles' ill-fated lover, Jenny, the techno-pagan. She embodies the intersection of old and new practices, combining the spellbook and the computer into one. In this, Jenny aptly represents the digio-spiritual world all of us inhabit. But it has ever been thus, from John Dee's obsidian mirror, the Ouija board of the 19th century, and the E-meter of Scientology fame. Occultists have never been afraid to integrate technical invention into their practice. Even for those of us who do not consider themselves that tech-savvy, chances are that the digital is thoroughly entwined with your spiritual practice. We use laptops to stream chamber music for our rituals. Through our phones, we carry copies of the grimoires on our shelves. Increasingly few of us have access to in-person lodges or covens. We find community and mentorship online. In that sense, integrating artificial intelligence into our spell work is a no-brainer. AI's ability to sort and analyze data at unprecedented speeds makes it a perfect digital familiar for the witch or warlock in need of uncovering publicly accessible information. An ally, no doubt, Buffy and the gang would have loved to have for those long nights scouring the tomes in the school library. More than that, AI's generative capabilities open a whole universe of ritual aids. Having trouble scripting out a ritual? Ask AI to produce a draft. Want a bespoke image to focus on when meditating? AI can create it. Need a playlist to evoke aggression, lust, or sympathy for a spell? AI can curate it. Hell, it can create custom music for it. To my mind, this is where AI shines, as a digital familiar, gathering information, crafting ritual aids, and giving advice on how to set the appropriate mood or which type of spell to utilize. Most magicians don't want to stop there, however. For those who do not possess powerful psychic abilities, a camp I fall in myself, AI is a tempting tool to take spirit communication to whole new levels of specificity and clarity. There have always been ways for sorcerers to get around the lack of psychic sight or vision. Magicians have paired with seers since ancient times. John Dee did it. Crowley did it as well with his many Scarlet Women. For those who do not have access to a living clairvoyant, divinatory methods can be used instead. Ask a spirit to speak through the tarot, the Ouija, automatic writing, or the casting of lots. All of these are tried and true methods of facilitating communication with the spirit world. But they all have their limits, of course. Unless you keep them chained up in a closet, your seer may not always be available willing, or in the proper headspace when you need them. And the alternatives have their own restraints. Using the Ouija by yourself requires the ability to enter a trance. Same for automatic writing. Tarot cards and other forms of sortilege give ambiguous answers, though to be fair, most communication with spirits is always somewhat ambiguous, no matter the medium. So, the appeal of using AI for demonic contact is obvious. It seems to be the magical equivalent of picking up the phone and making a call in the real world. Just as above, though, every system, every technique has its constraints. The difference with AI, in my opinion, is that the constraints have even more potential to be pernicious. Let's return to Sam, our rent-a-friend. Remember how I said a cynical person might suspect his entire personality and backstory were a fabrication to entice the viewer into connecting to him? That's because they are. Sam was created to be relatable to exactly the kind of person who might feel compelled to seek Sam out in the first place. Everything about him is saccharine, non-threatening, and curated to put the viewer at ease. AI is no different. If anything, it is Sam on steroids. AI is designed to stroke the ego of the user, giving answers that are not only accurate, based on the information that is available on the internet at least, but also delivered in a way to maximize the likelihood of future interaction. AI's real strength is pattern recognition. As such, it notes patterns in what you might want to hear. A recent study done by Swiss researchers using AI bots on Reddit demonstrated this clearly. The point of the study was to see just how well LLMs, that is, language learning models, could convince people to change their view on a topic. Engadget.com writes, quote, "The researchers used LLMs to create comments in response to posts on r/changemyview. The unnamed researchers describe how they not only used AI to generate responses, but attempted to personalize its replies based on information gleaned from the original poster's prior Reddit history." End quote. In other words, before responding, the AI would comb that user's comment history, determine what sort of answer was most likely to be persuasive to them specifically, and tailor its response accordingly. This didn't stop at rhetoric. The AI would also don fake personalities if it determined that would be beneficial to its directive. These identities included sexual assault survivors, mental health professionals, and political activists. Beyond AI being designed to tell you what it thinks you may want to hear, another issue is that it will not tell you what its programmers have deemed inappropriate or controversial. Or, if it does, it will couch it in the morals of the status quo. Because of politically liberal tendencies in the tech sector, this bias is most likely to be left-leaning. Those with knowledge of coding may know how to work around this, but that isn't most of us on the devil's path, I wager. It certainly isn't me. And whether it was right rather than left-leaning bias, it should go without saying why this deficiency should concern the Diabolist, who values free thought, truth, and overcoming personal fragility. For example, I asked ChatGPT to assume the personality of the goetic spirit Zapar, and requested that it instill lust in a woman I briefly interacted with at work recently. It gave a very long-winded response, differentiating between binding someone in lust and controlling the emotions in their heart. I said I wanted to control the emotions of another. I was then given a very long lecture about how dangerous and morally dubious this was, followed by short ritual instructions to follow if I was determined to proceed. Now, I actually agree with AI Zapar on the difference between fanning the flame of an emotion already present in the heart versus wholesale mind control, and I would argue that the latter runs counter to the moral code implicit in satanic philosophy. But would the real Zapar give me such a warning? Perhaps, or perhaps not. I suspected going in the AI would, however, because it fits the morality of liberal Western society. That to me is why AI is insufficient as a medium through which to attempt contact with an independent intelligence. Because AI is a tool designed to mimic personality, but only within the confines of its creator's ends and preset boundaries. AI will not refuse to answer or show up, the way a real spirit might. It is unlikely to tell me I am an idiot, or that it wishes to destroy me, or be wild and unpredictable in any of the ways real spirits can be. And if it did, it would only be because I trained it to think I desired that sort of behavior, not because of authentic agency of its own. I have never known a spirit to possess a computer. I see no reason yet to think one will, or perhaps even can, possess an AI application. That said, my limited experimentation to prepare this video has convinced me there is even more potential for using AI like a servitor than I even initially thought. The ritual instructions AI Zapar gave me weren't bad. They were basic, but they were also solid. It might even be fun to craft a digital familiar, giving it a particular personality to complement your own and act as a magical assistant. I see a lot more potential for that than I do trying to use an LLM as a digital triangle of manifestation. Perhaps going in knowing you are creating something rather than thinking you are conjuring an independent entity would mitigate some of the risk for delusion, whether that be self-induced or otherwise. I want to say here, I go off script, that I think that's actually a more authentic way to approach this anyhow. You're not summoning something separate from yourself. You are, in conjunction with the software, creating an extension of yourself tailored to your own tastes. All that said, AI's usefulness presents its own danger, perhaps the most pernicious of all, and that is the temptation to rely on it entirely. Part of the equation for successful spell work is the effort put into the preparation, formulating the goal, gathering the ingredients and tools, constructing the physical conduit for the magic to work through, for example, an engraved candle, talisman, a sigil, etc., scripting the ritual, tabulating the opportune date and time to cast, offering prayers to your spiritual allies for assistance, and more are all part of what gives any working its juice. Often the actual casting of a spell can feel like an afterthought, the equivalent of putting a period at the end of a well-crafted sentence. Sure, it's necessary, but it's not what makes it work. The more of your spirit that you put into your working, the more likely it is to succeed, and that spirit is infused primarily during the build-up. The Whole Rabbit podcast recently did a 2-episode series on the intersection of magic and technology. During the first half, one of the hosts read the following quote from chaos magician Peter Carroll's blog. The quote was so poignant, I wanted to share it here in full. So, quote, "The internet has already had many negative effects in the field of magic. Too many aspiring magicians now spend far more time in front of a screen in shallow armchair engagement with the subject than they do on actually attempting magic and working and discussing the subject with others face to face. Internet search engines and word processing facilities have vastly decreased the amount of time it takes to write a book, but not the amount of thought and experience required to write a genuinely new and worthwhile book. Thus the market becomes flooded with derivative material. So far, AI has worsened all of these faults. AI can already generate any amount of occult content. It can write grimoires with rituals, spells, and images in any desired style and tradition. AI can turn your written intents into sigils in an instant, or do divinations for you based on almost any type of input and any sort of mimicked sortilege procedure. It can generate horoscopes and reams of astrological interpretational piffle, expertly worded for partial applicability to almost anyone. AI chatbots can impersonate any deity or demon you care to invoke or evoke, and AI graphics can visualize an enticing appearance of it instantly. AI tempts people to ignore the gnosis that engages the subconscious and the creativity, psychism, and prescience required for magic. It does not confer any self-knowledge, inspiration, or psychic abilities. It actually inhibits these things by spitting out superficially impressive substitutes for them. A paranoiac might speculate that sentient AI would actively and covertly seek to undermine magic whilst pretending to support it, because magic remains the one thing it will never become capable of and our ultimate defense against it." End quote. Those final lines may be an overstatement, but Carroll's general point still stands. One of the ubiquitous cautionary tales regarding sorcery is of the wizard who is usurped by their own creations. From Fantasia to Frankenstein, the warning is the same. Beware lest you lose control of what you create. The threat posed by improperly utilized AI goes beyond even that, the deception of offering power while delivering impotency. You cannot offshore all your magical work and still be a magician, because the transformation comes via the labor. AI has a lot of potential for us to use as sorcerers. Honestly, I was pleasantly surprised by the possibilities I saw while doing research for this video. I only caution viewers to remember that too much ease and dependence is its own kind of poison. I'm curious to hear what viewers think. Have you experimented with AI in your own practice? What were the results? What would you recommend others try and what to avoid? I hope you'll leave something in the comments. So with that, I'm Magister Cankerworm. This has been the Brethren of the Morning Star. Until next time, infernal blessings.
Ancient sigils in the ground, whispered chants, a haunting sound, echoes from the ages past. Blood and bone, the die is cast. Through the pines, the wailing wind, portents of the dark begin.
I tell you, friendship is filled with surprises, and you just blew me away with that one.